So today I'd like to react to something that was clearly and nakedly a pursuit of white guilt by The Economist. Let's get into it. My name is Casey, I'm the Rumble Ride Dad, and I created this channel to try to bring a pro-natalist, among other things, view to the public. And if you can support that at all, which means making babies, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's get into more about what The Economist has to say about Trump's America and the bad people, aka white people, having children. The Economist also says in this article, as cities across the country get grayer, would-be parents flock to the communities that still prioritize children, which is likely outside of the major cities because the major cities are turning blue, and the people that want to have children naturally need to go away from the places where you'll be looked at smugly and with contempt if you bring your children in public, which we used to create all over this country because we recognized that at least a 2.1 birth rate was something that was necessary if we were in fact proud of where we came from, proud of our culture, and proud of the models and ideas of what this country had to offer in the first place and throughout even the late 90s. So for 200 years, we persisted and consisted of values that identified as American, which were family first, faith, and freedom. And yet, when we got so ashamed of ourselves and when we blued up our politics with one Democrat bruise after another, we began taking our child-friendly environments out of the public spaces.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
I have to react to this Twitter post or X post that The Economist put out that says, with Trump and Vance in power, many pro-natalists insist and believe that this is the moment to jumpstart baby making, but with some critics see pro-natalism as part of an insidious project to create a whiter America. Now, I don't quite frankly care what the ethnic makeup or even the ethnic majority is of our country. The fact that you would need to handcuff pro-natalism to some type of racial experimentation or eugenics experimentation is absurd, but The Economist is not unclever in what they're doing here. They are simply handcuffing the pro-natalist movement, which is one that wants the human race to persist, to a racist movement, which really and truthfully barely exists in our American project anymore. So The Economist, again, just like we did in the commercial last week where you're being lied to, but it's not an overt lie. It's simply linking these two ideologies together, accidentally bumping them into each other so that you associate one with the other. So you associate pro-natalism with racism. That's the goal. So this article from The Economist sort of, just as I said, kind of infers that prioritizing children is actually prioritizing certain children. And I would have a question for them because Margaret Sanger, at the heart of Planned Parenthood, had an explicitly racial agenda. And Margaret Sanger, along with those ideologues in Planned Parenthood, have taken out a great swath of children on one side of the ethnic spectrum. And so if we're looking at prioritizing children, I would quite frankly like to prioritize all children. Now, the fact that there is abortion clinics and male snip clinics outside of the Democratic National Convention during the elections last year, that wasn't something that I was more than amused by. Yeah, I want everyone to have kids because I think having children revolutionizes who you are, especially as a man, but also as a mother, as you move into a mode more of conserving what you believe is good, conserving the family, and that actually moves someone's politics, which is a lot of the reason why the majority has been so Democrat in the last several decades, because so many families are growing smaller and smaller, and a lot of adult people are choosing not to have children at a higher rate. There's more women who are without children than with children at age 30 now than has ever been, which is more than half of the country. And that, quite frankly, leads to more Democrat voters, because when you aren't a parent yourself, and when you don't have a vested interest in protecting the young lives in your care and in your stewardship, then you move towards trying to preserve what you believe is good about your own life, which is typically material, sometimes experiential, but typically material. And at that point, you move to make the government your daddy, your nanny, your caretaker, because if the only thing that is valuable is what you can see, what you can touch, what you own, then you need a father of your own to protect and care for that. And quite frankly, a lot of adult people have gone into going dark on their parents for political reasons, setting boundaries with their parents for political reasons, and therefore when you've broken up with your own family, you need daddy government to come in and play the rescuer. And that leads to Democrat votes, because all they do, like Mom Donnie in New York, is promise a bunch of stuff that they can't deliver. So the elites and the person who wrote this article believe that a pro-natalist, pro-family agenda is one of a wider American project, which is explicit in the way that they frame it on X. This insidious project to create a white America phrase does tell us that the elite perceives a pro-family culture as being right-wing coded and white. Now, I believe that there's probably every ethnicity outpacing white people in having babies, because so many of our Swifties, let's say, or young ladies between ages 18 and 40 are the ones, especially the childless ones, are the ones electing Democrats hand over fist. And if you want to see a truly based individual come onto my channel, it would be my wife, because some women out here still realize that a protection of a husband who is competent and dangerous is a protection that obfuscates the government's role and empowers us to be the parents and the caretakers of our family the way that we would choose, instead of sending our children off to someone to be babysat 5 days a week while my wife, in fact works for some other man or even woman in a way that she feels obligated to do in order to provide for our second income. Which one is worse? The fact that I can care for my wife, give her paychecks, help her have everything she needs, and then she has choices what she wants to do with the children, especially if they're school age and they go to any school, but we homeschool half time. But is that better than her having to be obligated to these external bosses, have them tell her what to do all the time, be obliged to do all the things that they request, and then be subject to their leadership or mine? That is quite frankly an easy choice for her. I think she would come in here swinging the velvet hammer if I gave her, these prompts and asked her to send me a response. Maybe she would. But she is the really based individual in our family, and partly because she made me the warrior that I am today. Between our children, the love of God and His mercy and grace, and her multiplication of everything that was ever good about me, or even some of my weaknesses getting stronger, she's the based one. She's the one who tells the world she doesn't need the government to nanny and to care for our children. And there is no greater freedom than being a stay-at-home mom in comparison to going and being a wage slave for some other boss, some other entity. You don't get weekday trips to the library or to the park. You don't get to educate your own children. You don't get to hold them in their difficult times and empower them to be stronger than they ever thought they could be for 40 plus hours a week if she were giving that agency over to another company to do and to author the lives of our children. So here's the answer to The Economist. Yes, people who are pro-natalist, if I accept their framing, which I don't, people who just want to have children and proliferate the species and engage in the cultural mandate that God called us to do, be fruitful and multiply, and those who believe in a God who will ultimately redeem humanity and win the last battle in order to take us home, those who believe that will probably build these pro-child cultures, and there'll be subcultures, and you will push them into the margins, much like the Benedict option that I talked about last week. And as those communities grow, you will find more and more fervent and forceful ways to put them further out into the margins, make them seem insane, and provide the globalization worldview to try to stifle them. But I have news for you. Unless you start having children, they will outnumber you in short order. It might not happen in my generation, it might not happen in 2 generations, but be very careful what you wish for, because if people have to move into small towns like mine in order to find a pro-family mindset, then you will find those small towns are larger and larger, and the people who are actually thriving and living a meaningful life will be a force that you cannot stop. If you can support that force, or at least this Midwestern midwit, in helping to push that into my life and the heritage of my family and beyond, into your homes, into anywhere that people want to have children, please like, share, and subscribe so we can fight for the future of fatherhood in America.